Hey there, welcome to Infomedia. Today a journey through the sands of time, where mystery, power, and innovation meet in the land of pyramids and pharaohs. Ancient Egypt wasn't just about mummies and monuments, it was a civilization full of astonishing advancements, bizarre beliefs, and jaw-dropping secrets that still baffle historians today. From surgical skills to solar calendars, this video uncovers 20 surprising facts about ancient Egypt that'll blow your mind. Let's dive in. Fact 1. The Great Pyramid can tell time. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just a tomb, it's an ancient engineering marvel that also functioned as a giant sundial. Yep, you heard that right. The pyramid's shadow would move throughout the day, marking time with incredible precision. Even crazier, its base is almost a perfect square aligned with true north, more accurately than modern compasses. Some researchers even believe the pyramid's dimensions encode mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. It's as if the ancient Egyptians were blending spirituality with science, hiding cosmic secrets in stone. Fact 2. Egyptians practiced brain surgery. While most ancient cultures treated wounds with herbs and prayers, ancient Egyptians were performing actual brain surgeries, and some patients even survived them. Archaeologists have discovered skulls with signs of trepanation, a procedure where holes were drilled into the skull to treat head injuries or relieve pressure. These weren't random guesses either. The precision of the cuts and evidence of bone regrowth suggest a surprisingly advanced understanding of human anatomy. Imagine surviving brain surgery in a world without anesthesia, sterile tools, or X-rays. Hardcore. Fact 3. Cats were worshipped, literally. Today's cat lovers might think they're obsessed, but the ancient Egyptians took it to a whole new level. Cats weren't just pets, they were considered sacred, believed to possess protective spiritual powers. In fact, killing a cat, even accidentally, was punishable by death. Entire families mourned the loss of a feline by shaving their eyebrows. They even mummified cats, burying them with food and toys for the afterlife. Temples dedicated to the cat goddess Bastet attracted thousands of worshippers. In short, cats ruled the kingdom, no questions asked. Fact 4. They had toothpaste, and it was brutal. Think toothpaste as a modern invention? Think again. Ancient Egyptians were brushing their teeth over 5,000 years ago with a mix of crushed eggshells, powdered ox hooves, pumice, and ash. The mixture was so gritty, it likely wore down enamel over time. But it shows just how obsessed they were with hygiene. They also invented breath mints made from frankincense and myrrh. So the next time you're brushing your teeth, just be thankful it's not with burnt animal bones and sand. Fact 5. They wrote the world's first peace treaty. War was brutal in the ancient world, but Egypt made history by signing the first known peace treaty, and not just a handshake deal. After decades of fierce fighting with the Hittites, Pharaoh Ramses II agreed to end the conflict in a written accord around 1259 BCE. What's amazing is that this treaty wasn't just about borders, it included extradition agreements, mutual aid, and royal marriages to seal the deal. A copy of this treaty is even displayed at the United Nations headquarters today. Ancient diplomacy? Check. Fact 6. Tombs had booby traps, sort of. You've probably seen Hollywood movies where ancient tombs are rigged with deadly traps. While that's a bit exaggerated, the truth isn't too far off. Egyptian builders designed tombs with secret passageways, false doors, and hidden chambers to confuse robbers. In some cases, sand-filled shafts or stones were said to collapse. Tomb curses, though not physically dangerous, were psychologically terrifying. Inscriptions warned intruders that disturbing a mummy would bring death by crocodiles, lions, and scorpions. Real or not, it definitely kept grave robbers awake at night. Fact 7. Ancient pregnancy tests existed. Forget modern science. Ancient Egyptians had their own bizarre but oddly accurate pregnancy test. A woman would urinate on bags of wheat and barley. If the wheat sprouted, it was said to be a girl. If barley sprouted, it was a boy. If nothing sprouted, she wasn't pregnant. It may sound ridiculous, but modern studies have shown that urine hormones can indeed affect seed germination, meaning this test had around a 70% accuracy rate. Not bad for something invented 3,000 years ago without a lab coat in sight. Fact 8. They believed the afterlife was a journey. To the ancient Egyptians, death wasn't an end, it was the beginning of an adventure. They believed that after death, the soul would face a series of trials in the underworld, eventually reaching the Hall of Judgment. There, the heart was weighed against the feather of truth. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was eaten by a monster named Ammit. If passed, the person lived forever in paradise. That's why tombs were packed with food, clothes, amulets, and even furniture, everything a soul might need for the trip. Fact 9. Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian. One of the most iconic figures of ancient Egypt wasn't actually Egyptian. Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty, was of Greek descent. Her family traced back to Ptolemy I, a general under Alexander the Great. Despite ruling Egypt, the Ptolemies spoke Greek and followed Greek customs. Cleopatra, however, broke tradition. She learned the Egyptian language and embraced the culture, becoming a true queen of the people. So while she ruled Egypt with power and charisma, her roots were pure Macedonian. Fact 10. Pharaohs built private pools in the desert. The pharaohs lived lives of unimaginable luxury, and that included private swimming pools in the middle of the blazing desert. These weren't just for cooling off. Pools were symbols of status, recreation, and sometimes used in religious rituals. Wealthy nobles and royals had entire pleasure gardens with artificial lakes, palm trees, and lotuses. Some pools were built in geometric perfection, showing once again their architectural brilliance. So, next time you're lounging in a pool, just remember, you've got something in common with a pharaoh. Fact 11. They worshipped crocodiles. Most people run away from crocodiles, the Egyptians worshipped them. The god Sobek, with the head of a crocodile, was a symbol of strength and protection. Temples were built in his honor, and actual crocodiles were kept in sacred pools, adorned with jewelry, and even mummified upon death. People believed that Sobek could control the waters of the Nile and ward off evil. So, while today we might see crocs as dangerous predators, to Egyptians, they were divine beings, part of the balance between chaos and order. Fact 12. The Eye of Horus was an early medical symbol. The famous Eye of Horus wasn't just a mystical icon, it was a mathematical and medical tool. Egyptians used it to represent fractions in medical prescriptions. Each part of the eye symbol represented a portion, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, etc. It was also believed to offer healing and protection, often worn as an amulet. Modern medicine's RX symbol may have even been inspired by it. This shows how the Egyptians combined symbolism with science, using spiritual icons for real-world healing. Fact 13. Makeup was worn by everyone. Both Egyptian men and women wore makeup, and it wasn't just for beauty. Eye makeup, especially kohl, served multiple purposes. It protected their eyes from the sun's glare and acted as a natural insect repellent. It also had antibacterial properties, reducing the risk of eye infections. Green pigments made from malachite and black coal made from galena were applied with ornate tools. Makeup had spiritual significance too. It was believed to offer protection from evil forces. So, wearing eyeliner? Totally ancient and totally unisex. Fact 14. Hieroglyphs include no vowels. Ancient Egyptian writing, or hieroglyphs, is famous for its intricate symbols, but did you know it had no vowels? The system was made up entirely of consonants. Readers had to guess the vowels based on context, much like we do with some abbreviations today. For example, the name Tutankhamun would have been written more like TTNKHMN. This makes decoding Egyptian texts tricky even for experts. Yet despite the missing pieces, their writing covered everything from taxes to love poems to surgical procedures. Fact 15. Pharaohs had a title that meant, "Be king." One of the oldest titles of the pharaoh was, "He of the Sedge and the Bee," symbolizing the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. The Sedge represented Upper Egypt, and the Bee stood for Lower Egypt. Bees were incredibly important, not just for honey, but as symbols of order, cooperation, and divine rule. Egyptians were expert beekeepers, and honey was used in food, medicine, and even embalming. So yes, being the bee king was a royal flex. Fact 16. Soldiers wore leather and linen, not armor. Unlike Roman or medieval soldiers, Egyptian warriors didn't wear heavy metal armor. Instead, they wore padded linen or leather, which offered flexibility in the desert heat. Their strength came from skill, speed, and strategy. Shields were made of animal hide stretched over wooden frames. Chariots gave them a deadly edge in battle, fast, mobile, and hard to hit. Despite their minimal gear, Egyptian armies were powerful enough to build and defend an empire that lasted for millennia. Fact 17. They invented the first barbershops. Barbers in ancient Egypt weren't just hairstylists, they were spiritual figures. Cutting hair was believed to cleanse the soul and ward off demons. Wealthy Egyptians had private barbers, while commoners visited open-air barbershops. Shaving was so important that priests would shave their entire bodies every 3 days. Even wigs were fashionable, not just to cover baldness but to signal status and cleanliness. In short, getting a trim was both a ritual and a style statement. Fact 18. Dreams were taken seriously. To the Egyptians, dreams weren't just random, they were messages from the gods. They even had dream books that interpreted various symbols. For example, dreaming of drinking warm beer meant bad news. Temples known as sleep temples allowed people to sleep in sacred chambers and receive healing dreams. Priests interpreted these dreams and offered guidance. Some pharaohs even made major decisions based on what they dreamed the night before. Imagine running a kingdom by dream analysis. Fact 19. Salt was used to mummify, and it worked amazingly well. The secret to Egyptian mummification? Natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture found along the Nile. It was used to dehydrate bodies, preventing decay. Organs were removed and placed in canopic jars, the body packed in natron for 40 days, then wrapped in linen. This method was so effective that some mummies have remained intact for over 3,000 years. Their skin, hair, and even tattoos are still visible. It's a level of preservation modern morticians still find impressive. Fact 20. They played board games obsessively. Ancient Egyptians were huge fans of board games, especially a game called senet, one of the world's oldest known games. Played on a grid of 30 squares, it symbolized the journey to the afterlife. Pharaohs were buried with senet boards so they could continue playing in eternity. Other popular games included Meehan and Hounds and Jackals. Gaming wasn't just for fun, it was spiritual, competitive, and even used to predict the future. So if you're a gamer today, you're continuing an ancient tradition. And there you have it, 20 truly surprising facts about ancient Egypt that reveal just how brilliant, bizarre, and ahead of their time this civilization really was. From sacred cats to cosmic pyramids, from pregnancy tests to peace treaties, these weren't just people of the past, they were innovators, dreamers, and builders of a legacy that still stuns the world today. Which fact blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic history deep dives. Until next time, stay curious, stay awesome.